A good morning and a good Erev Yom Tif to everybody, and welcome to today's special edition of Focus, Dar Menachem's daily video magazine for everything Tzivos Hashem. Today, we are having a very special edition. We are having a pre-Chof Adar video rally in honor of the Rebbitzon's birthday, which will be taking place tonight and tomorrow. The Rebbitzon's birthday is Chof Adar, the 25th day of Adar, which starts tonight. So, it is only appropriate that Chassidim, children of the Rebbitzin, we get together to farbreng and celebrate her life. And like the Rebbe said, those who are living should take to heart a lesson that we learn from the Rebbitzin and we can make part of our life and live with. And we will start today's rally off with a video of the Rebbe, as we do every single time we have a rally. And as we are doing the past couple of days, there's a question on today's video. And the question is, what was the Rebbitzon's response to the question asked, Rebbitzin, where are your children? Listen closely and follow along so you know the answer.
Rebbitzin Chaya Mushka Schneerson was born in Bobanovich, near the town of Lubavitch, in Belarus, in 1901. Upon her birth, her grandfather, the fifth Rebbe, chose a name for her. Telegraphing from abroad, if she hasn't been named yet, she should be called Chaya Mushka. Her childhood was spent at the seat of the Lubavitch movement, as the granddaughter and daughter of generations of the revered Rebbe's of Chabad. When leadership of the movement was placed upon her father's shoulders, he became the target of continuous threats by the communist regime. With uncertainty hanging over him, he entrusted his middle daughter with the power to conduct all legal transactions on his behalf. In 1927, when the secret police showed up to arrest her father, she ran to the window and called out to her future husband, Schneerson, guests have arrived, thereby saving him from their clutches and setting in motion a plan to save the movement's priceless manuscripts. When her father's death sentence was commuted to exile, it was Chaya Mushka who accompanied him on the lonely journey. A year later, the young woman who was nurtured on the knees of great Rebbes and Rebbitzins married the person who would become Rebbe himself. The couple settled in Berlin, where they maintained a decidedly non-public life, suiting both of their modest personas. In 1933, they fled to Paris. The Rebbitzin would reflect fondly upon this period. When the Nazis were approaching France several years later, they were compelled to flee again. Their journey ended a year and a half later when they reached New York. The Rebbitzin, with her husband, had arrived to the side of her esteemed father. As people began to take note of the reserved young man who had been appointed to lead Lubavitch's central organizations, his wife continually tried to conceal her regal bearing. Many a store on Kingston Avenue would receive a phone call for a delivery, only to notice at the end that it was Mrs. Schneerson from President Street. In 1950, her father passed away, and the mantle of leadership transferred to her husband. As the Rebbe toiled around the clock, she remained a steadfast pillar of support behind the scenes, but never wavering for a moment. For decades on end, as the world came knocking on his door, demanding more and more of his time and attention, the Rebbitzin stood in the wings, supporting, and wherever possible, assisting. When the movement and her husband faced a critical challenge on the nature of a Rebbe, she summed up her own life experience, declaring, "The Rebbe and everything he owns belongs to Hasidim." Presented here is the testimony of several of those who knew or at least observed the Rebbitzin up close, collected as part of the My Encounter with the Rebbe project. Because of her modesty, it is difficult to learn about her life. To this day, those who knew her are still wary of breaching her prophecy in some way. Many of our interviewees would not share experiences they considered too personal. So discreet was she, that for many, it was only when they observed the Rebbe after her passing that they realized what she meant to him. From that day in 1988, on his visits to the resting place of his father-in-law, the Rebbe would often spend a few moments in prayer at her resting place as well. Today, thousands of Jewish women and girls proudly bear her name. The Rebbe and Rebbitzin had been a source of blessing for so many, but sadly, they were not to have children of their own. A young boy once visited the Rebbitzins' home and naively asked her, "Rebbitzin, where are your children?" The Rebbitzin responded, "All Hasidim are the Rebbe's children."
I want to hear everybody singing along. This is a niggin that was sung by the Yidden, the Chassidim in Russia. Let me hear you along. Very nice. I see a boy in the back with a white shirt singing so beautifully. Very nice. Beautiful, beautiful. And I love the chayas of the singing. And now that we learned a little bit about the Rebbitzin, let's go back to our question. What was the Rebbitzin's response to the question asked? Rebbitzin, where are your children? Make sure that when the Google form is sent out, you can include that question into today's special raffle. And as we do every single time, we have a rally after the Rebbe video. We have the 12 psukim, and we are ready to rock and roll. And I want to see if you guys get involved. Bring that chayes that you have in yeshiva. Show it to your parents. Get your parents and family involved. The first pasuk we are going to go to Yisrael Kaplan of Rabbi Samuel's Kita Dalit for the pasuk of Torah. Yisrael, take it away. Beautiful, Yisrael. Thank you very much. Moving on to the pasuk of Shema, we have Yosef Yitzchak Newman of Rabbi Strasberg's Kita. Hey, Yosef Yitzchak, show that chayes. Shema. Shema. Let me hear everybody. Yisrael. Yisrael. Adonai. Adonai. Eloheinu. Adonai. Adonai. Echad. Thank you very much. Yosef Yitzchak Pasuk B'chol Derva. There will be led by Kita Dalit Chaim Baruch Mervis from Rabbi Samuel's Kita Dalit. Take it away, Chaim Baruch. Bechol. Dar. Vadar. Chayav. Adam. I like Kita Gimel. They're saying Lirais. Keep it up, Kita Gimel. S. Atzmai. Kita Vav is getting into it. Not bad. Ke'ilu. Who? Yatza. Mimitzrayim. I love the smile. I love the enthusiasm. Chaim Baruch. Pasuk Kol Yisrael. We have Yoni Baum of Rabbi Ackerman's Kita Gimel, all dressed up for today's occasion. A Yom Tif like the Chassid does. Let me see the Chayas, Yoni. 1, 2, 3, go. Call. Yisrael. Yesh. Lahem. Chelek. Li'olam. Haba. Shenemar. V'yamech. Kulam. Tzadikim. Li'olam. Yershu. Aretz. Netzer. Matai. Masei. Yodai. Lisper. Beautiful Yoni. Moving along. Ki Korev will be led by Shalom Brashevitsky of Rabbi Saru's Kita Vav. Shalom, give me that chayas. 1, 2, 3, and here we go. Ki. Karaiv. Eilecha. Hadavar. Miyoid. Beficha. Uvilvavcha. Lasaisai. Very, very nice. Pasuk of Vehine. All the way to another Talmud in Kita Vav. Baruch Dukes, lead us with the pasuk of Vehine. Love the smile. Keep it up. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Whoops. Here we go. Baruch, go. Vehine. Hashem. Nitzav. Olav. Umalai. Kal. Haaretz. Kevaidai. Umabit. Olav. Uvaychein. Klayais. Valev. Im. Oivdai. Karaoi. Beautiful Baruch. Pasuk of Bereshis. We have with us Menachem Cohen, also from Kita Vav. Rabbi Saru's class is certainly rocking here with the Psukim. Here we go, Menachem. 1, 2, 3, Bereshis. Bereshis. Bara. Elokim. Eis. Hashamayim. V'yeis. Haaretz. Beautiful. Pasuk of Vishinantam. We have yet another Talmud from Kita Vav. They rock it up every single time by our rally, so it makes sense that they're with the Psukim over here as well. We have Yitzchak Odds. Pasuk of Vishinantam. Yitzchak, take it away. Vishinantam. Levanecha. V'dibarta. Bam. B'shivtecha. B'veisecha. U'v'lechtecha. V'derech. U'v'shachbecha. Nice kitahei. Uv'kulmecha. Very, very, very nice. Pasuk of Yogaiti. Yaakov Shimon Lazar. Kita Vav. I told you it's rocking over here with the psukim. Let me hear Yaakov Shimon Lazarov, Kita Vav, Rebbe Saru's class. 1, 2, 3, go. Yogaiti. Velai. Matsasi. Al. Tamin. Lo Yogaiti. Umatsasi. Al. Tamin. Yogaiti. Umatsasi. Tamin. I love the enthusiasm, determination. I love it. Pasuk of V'ahavta. Kita Vav. Yeah, and we have Daniel Abekasis leading us. Hear me, hear you. 1, 2, 3, go. V'ahavta. L'reacha. Kamoicha. Rabbi. Akiva. Oimer. Zeh. Klal. Gadol. Batayra. Very nice, Daniel. Thank you. Pasuk of Vizeh. We go all the way to Kita. Hey, Rabbi Strasberg's Kita. Shirley Bronstein, lead us with the Pasuk of Vizeh. 1, 2, 3, go. Vizeh. Kol. Ha'adam. V'sachlis. Briosai. Uvrias. Kol. Ha'olamais. Elyoinim. V'sachtoinim. Liyais. Lai. Dira. Zu. V'sachtoinim. Thank you, Shruli. Pasuk of Yismach. All the way to Kita Gimel. Nasan Arnold. Lead us with the Pasuk of Yismach, the final Pasuk. 1, 2, 3, go. Yismach. Yisrael. Be'osav. Peirush. Shekol. Mi. Shehu. Mizera. Yisrael. Yesh. Loi. Lismayach. Besimchas. Hashem. Asher. Sos. Vesameach. Bedirosai. Besachtoinim. Beautiful. Thank you very much. And we all know that there is never a moment that we should not turn to Hashem and demand that He sends Mashiach. And we turn to Hashem on such a special day, in such a special moment to prepare for such a special person's birthday. We turn to Hashem and we tell Hashem, Admasai, it's your turn. We're doing everything we can to bring Mashiach. It's your turn now to make it happen. We have Mendel Potter of Kita Gimel leading us with Admasai. Mendel, take it away. Admasai. Admasai. 1 minute. Looks like there's a problem with our feed with Mendel Potter. Admasai. Sorry about that. It looks like we have a bit of an issue with the feed with Mendel Potter. I do apologize, Mendel. And let's join the Rebbe and the Chassidim singing, We Want Mashiach Now. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Dam Yisrael. Let me hear you, Chavre. Hey, we want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Beautiful, beautiful. And now, Talmidim, we have something very, very special. As you know, every single time we have a rally, we bring a special guest to speak to you. And today is no different. But with all this beautiful technology, we don't have to be limited by who we have. And we have a very, very, very special guest. Our guest today is Rabbi Shimon Posner. He's a shliach of the Rebbe in a place called Rancho Mirage in the state of California. And if you may remember, Chof Shvat, I told you that very few people had the merit to meet the Rebbitzin. And the Rebbitzin being a private person, even those people who had the privilege of meeting the Rebbitzin, they don't want to share what they've had because out of respect for the Rebbitzin and her being a private person, they would not want to share those details. But there are certain details that weren't private, and therefore they are allowed to share. Rabbi Shimon Posner are one of those few people who had the privilege of meeting their Rebbitzin on more than one occasion, and he's been kind enough to take from his time and verbring with us and share some stories with us in honor of the Rebbitzins' upcoming birthday. And he's joining us now. Please, Rabbi Posner, thank you so much for coming. Boys, give Rabbi Posner your derech eretz intention. And without any further ado, Rabbi Posner.
Hey, Adar, I understand that you're not having regular school like the rest of the world. You're going to be home, so your Chof Hey Adar Rebbitzins' birthday for Reagan is going to be by screen instead of in real life. So here I am talking to you from California on Thursday night. My name is Shimon Posner, and I want to tell you a few stories that I had with the Rebbitzin personally. I was from the very, very lucky people. Not many of us who had a personal relationship with the Rebbitzin, although mine was a little bit brief. Until the age of 23, I had only seen the Rebbitzin once. It was in passing, and it was when she was coming out of the library right next door to 770, and she was going to her car, and I saw her from a distance. Before that, the only time I had seen my connection I had with the Rebbitzin, didn't even see her, was from my Bubby's address book. You know what an address book is, a telephone book. All right. Used to be these telephones before you had cell phones. You had these big, clumpy things about this big, and they were usually in the kitchen. You had maybe another one in the bedroom, and they were attached to the wall. It took the screwdrivers and everything to disattach it from the wall. It was connected. And you had to dial each number around and around and around. The phone didn't have any capacity to remember numbers, so what did you have? You had a big, thick book, about as thick as this, Makras Kadosh, but big. And it had all the numbers of all the people in the city, Brooklyn or wherever you lived. But then if people wanted something of the numbers that they used often, their favorite list, so it was in a little book that they would have about the size of a cell phone. And each letter of the alphabet had another page, and you wrote down the person's number and their address in that book. And looking through my grandmother's book, I saw she had the Davidson's name in there. But she very, very rarely told me about when she would actually speak to the Rebbitzin. She told me once when my grandfather was nifter, so the Rebbitzin called her, and she happened to mention to me then that she got a very special phone call today. That all changed when I got engaged, because my wife, my Kala, she had a very close relationship with the Rebbitzin. My Kala's father is Rabbi Shmuel Lu, and his wife, my mother-in-law, is the daughter of Zalman Jaffe. And Zalman Jaffe, he was born in Sheir Zalman Jaffe. His great-grandparents were Lubavitch and Self-Dav and the Sahari. He knew that Yudas Kislev is a yontif. Other than that, he didn't really have that much of a shaykhus. And that changed in some changes that happened in his life. And when Ben Shem Tov introduced him and brought him to the Rebbe sometime in the late 50s, early 60s. And it was several years later when my mother-in-law got engaged to my father-in-law that he asked the Rebbe, is it okay if he invites the Rebbetzin to the Chasana? Because the Rebbe was going to be, Masada Kedushin was going to be officiating under the Chuppah. And the Rebbe said that she doesn't usually attend such things, but you can ask her. And she knows who you are because you always say it with flowers. That's what the Rebbe said. And what the Rebbe was referring to is that whenever they came to Yontif by the Rebbe, they would always send flowers to the Rebbetzin. So the Rebbetzin said that she wants to see them in her home. And they went, and my father tells the story every time. It was a beautiful white tablecloth. And on the white tablecloth were these 4 flutes, like tall, thin glass cups. And in each glass cup was a thin straw, like a glass straw. And there was a pitcher of punch. And the Rebbetzin invited him to serve. Now, why did she invite him to serve? That was the way the Anhaga, the way that the people used to do it in Europe. It was a beautiful idea. It's a beautiful custom. What is it? You want the guests to feel at home in your home. How does a person feel at home? When they act like it's their home. Well, if someone came to your home, wouldn't you serve them? Of course. So therefore, you have the guest serve the host. It's a beautiful thought. And she asked my father-in-law to serve, and he's pouring this red punch into each one of the glasses, and each one of the glasses has this glass straw sticking out of it, and he hits one of the straws that's already filled with a cup, filled with a punch, and it flips over, and the whole tablecloth goes red. And he was just wishing the ground just swallowed him up. He was so embarrassed. He looked so. There was a broad smile on her face. So it's a simon bracha. This is bringing a bracha to the house. And she looked so happy that his father-in-law, my grandfather-in-law, Zalman Jaffe, said she looked so happy that I wanted to knock over another one of those cups of punch. It was interesting because when I went to see the Rebbetzin with my Kala, there was a platter of cake on the table, and she motioned to my wife, to my Kala. She said, "You will serve, yes." Again, that same tradition. It's a very beautiful thing that when you're really in tune with making sure that people feel comfortable, you will find interesting ways of making them feel comfortable. That itself is a nice message. And then, of course, if they get red punch all over your white tablecloth, then you turn it into not just, oh, it's okay, don't worry, I'm sure it'll come out in the wash, but it's a simon bracha. Thank you for doing it. So that tells you something about the type of person she was. Another story that my wife had was as the family grew, then they would always go in Yomtiv. So whichever Anakach, the grandchildren were there with the grandparents, they would go together with them to see the Rebbetzin. And they go to the Rebbetzin, and they become friendly, each one with her, and but my grandfather tells the Rebbe that my granddaughter Chaya, who's my wife, is going to be staying here. She's finishing high school. She's going to be going to seminary here in New York. And the Rebbe asked her, is anyone else from your family going to be there? She said, no, she's going to be alone in New York. And the Rebbe said, well, always remember that you have a friend in the neighborhood. Here's a woman who's older than the girl's grandparents, and she says, you have a friend in the neighborhood. A little bit of time passed, and my wife's cousin was getting married in Manchester, and of course she wasn't going to be at the wedding. And she called her grandparents to wish them Mazel Tov. And said, hi, where have you been? She says, what do you mean, where have I been? I'm in school. She says, well, the Rebbetzin's been looking for you. I said, okay. So she goes to Maskiris. She gives the number to her dorm room for the Rebbetzin to call her. And the Rebbetzin calls. My wife wasn't there then, and she leaves the message, tell her that Mrs. Schneerson from President Street called. So my Chaya, my later to become Kala and wife, calls her up and she asks her to come over. And she says, I know that your cousin's getting married and you're the only one here. So you're probably lonely. You're missing out being at the wedding. So I thought maybe we should get together. So here she's sensitive to a young girl's feelings, a seminary girl who's alone, missing her family, missing all the excitement of a chasana, and she's thinking about her. And she was like that in a lot of her relationship with her. They would discuss what stores she likes to go shopping at, what stores my wife likes going shopping at. And when I saw her, this and after I got engaged. The first time I met her was with the rest of the grandchildren, and it was interesting because she spoke to them in English, but she spoke to me in Yiddish, and she said to me, have you heard what happened in California? At that time there was an earthquake in California. And I had heard about it, and we spoke a little bit about it, but that was pretty much the end of that conversation. The conversation moved on. Now, the way an earthquake works, for those of you that don't know, there's two parts of the earth, and they're right next to each other like this. And then one of them or both of them move slightly, and that makes a quake. That movement, and what is it? Is two plates that are right next to each other. But sometimes one falls a little bit or one moves a little bit, and that space between them is called the fault. Now, all that California is known for its earthquakes, all those earthquakes happen from the San Andreas fault. Funny thing is, years later, where do I move on Shlichus? Right near a couple of miles off the San Andreas fault. So it was just something I realized many, many years afterwards. The second time I met the Rebbetzin, it was along with my Kala and her sister, and we came to her house on President Street, and that's where she asked my Kala to serve the cake, and she asked me again in Yiddish. She said, "What are you hoping to do? What were you planning to do?" As I understood it, like to make a living. And I said, well, we're hoping to be able to go on Shlichus. I wasn't going to say I'm going on Shlichus because, the Mashiach has to want that. So I can't say I'm going. I didn't ask that if I could. So I said, I hope to go on Shlichus. We are hoping to go on Shlichus. And there was a nod of her head. And she said, it's hard work, but you're young. And I never forgot that. You have to stay young. You have to keep yourself young. And she turned to my wife and she started speaking to her in English, basically what we'd been speaking about in Yiddish. And my wife was, nodding and saying like she understood Yiddish even though she wasn't as comfortable speaking it. I myself wasn't raised speaking Yiddish. I wasn't so comfortable with it either at first. I came a little, not much, but a little bit better. And the Rebbetzin told us it's a very important thing to speak Yiddish. And I didn't do that enough. I started with our oldest child, our second oldest child, but as it worked out, they knew less and less. We tried to fix it up with our youngest child, but not totally. But that was a beautiful lesson that we learned from the Rebbetzin, is how important it is to speak Yiddish and how important it is to stay young. These are just some of the very warm memories that I have of the Rebbetzin. And now you guys are at home, you're isolated, so don't worry about it, because as long as we're able to bring together, and thanks to this technology and thanks to Rabbi Cohen for putting this together, we're able to stay together, we're able to remind each other and share with each other stories of tzaddikim and what they mean to us, and especially on the day of the birthday of a tzaddik, when their mazel is that much stronger and the protective aura that they have for us is that much stronger, and we're able to take what they mean to us and bring it home for us. You should have a very good Chof Adar, and you should bring and learn well online. For a lot of you, it's a brand new experience. It should be a good experience, and you'll appreciate it that much more when you get into your own classrooms again. And be Matzliach. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rabbi Posner. That was so special. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Before we finish today's rally, there's a couple of announcements we want to say. This Shabbos is Shabbos Mevarchim, and we are blessing the month of Nisan, the day that the Yidden were redeemed from Mitzrayim, and certainly that this year, Nisan, by the time we get to Chodesh Nisan, we will be redeemed from our personal galus in our own homes right now, as well as the big galus that we are in, and take us to the Geula Shlema. So here, once again, we are reminding you to make sure to say your quota of Tehillim, or if you can't, do the best you can to say as much Tehillim as you can. If it's too difficult for you, the quota that you got, you can reach out to me, your parents can reach out to me, and I will see what I could do for you. If you don't know your quota, all that you need to do is go to the Tzivos Hashem app, and you look at your missions, and it'll say what your quota is, the amount of kapidlach you need to say. And like I do every single month, every Talmid that completes their quota will be receiving a nice little cup of ice cream. I know I owe you guys from the last month. I was supposed to give it out this week, but unfortunately, you guys didn't come to school for that, right? So I guess now we're going to get a double treat of ice cream. Or maybe if you guys want to have ice cream for this month and the other month we get you something else, we could work that out. And I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to be making a raffle for every single class for an $18 gift certificate to the place of your choice, be it a pizza parlor, be it a sushi spot, be it a Sweet Expressions. Every class, get the Gimel, Dalet, Hey, and Vav, a $18 gift certificate for every Talmid, for every class. Every Talmid that completes their quota on Shabbos will be able to be part of this raffle. So keep it up and make sure you get it done. And I want to remind everybody, Mishnah Yisrael Peh, I already started getting calls and videos yesterday. If you want to continue Mishnah Yisrael Peh at home, you can send me a WhatsApp video of you getting tested. You can call me with a WhatsApp video, and I will test you between 5 and 6 p.m. Or you could even have your parents test you. And if you guys need material, I'm happy to send it to you. And we're working on a website right now to be able to have everything in one place. If you are getting tested on the full parak of Mishnayos or Tanya, you do need to reach out to me or another Rebbe. And finally, before we forget, we have yesterday's raffle, meaning anybody who participated in yesterday's focus video, we had a raffle. All you needed to do is send in a Google form, and the winner of yesterday's raffle is Adi Benjamin. Very nice. And Adi will be receiving the gyro wheel as his gift when he comes back to Darche. And what is today's raffle? You fill out the Google form and you send it in. You will enter a raffle for something quite unique, a magic puzzle ball. It's something like a Rubik's Cube, but the only difference is a ball, and you have to match the circles with the actual ball inside. That means the purple ball has to be in the purple circle. Cute, a little more challenging. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Rabbi Posner, for taking your time and for bringing with us. It's been very special. Take the stories that you heard from Rabbi Posner, share them with your family tonight or tomorrow. Make sure that you make the day into a day that would make our Ruchnistic mother, the Rebbitzin, proud and give her much naches. And do everything you can to end this galus and bring Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. And a good Shabbos to all.